Welcome to the latest episode of the Hull and Back podcast with me. A bit of a new voice for you guys, Joe Arveladze. I was a guest on the show a few weeks back. I've been kindly asked by Ant and the boys to come and be a bit of a co-host, and it's an absolute pleasure, lads, with Joel, Will and Nat today. And what a good time to be joining this podcast. You know, I do my Rovers one, which has been going brilliant as well, but I've loved listening to you guys, and hopefully I can be a good addition to the show because you make my runs into work a lot easier, boys. So I really appreciate you asking me to come on, and hopefully this is the start of something good. But yeah, really glad to be with you, boys. But yeah, so we will start. Obviously, we are sponsored by Hull City Retro and 6 Yards Out. Two brilliant websites. Check them out on our Twitter, our Facebook. It's all on our bios. Really good retro gear for you guys who like the old style kits, mugs, anything you want. It's all on them too. And we have got a charity shirt, which is in collaboration with S66 Sportswear. They're £35, but if you buy them now, £7.50 goes to the Andy Man's Club in Hull, which is a mental health charity for men in the Hull and East Riding in East Yorkshire. It's a really brilliant charity, and it's done a lot of hard work in the community over the past 5 years. And obviously, we know that mental health's rising, and as Hull City fans and as anybody in the city want to stick together. So if you buy them, you'll be able to see the link in our bios and in the banners underneath if you're listening to us on YouTube and watching us live. So we really appreciate everything that you do for them charities to our listeners. But guys, we've got so much to talk about. I can't believe Ant's thrown me in the deep end. It's his first episode hosting, but we'll obviously start with the departure of Grant McCann and Cliff Bairn and the news that Shota Arveladze, as we've been called, or Shota, whatever you want to call him. Will, I'll start with you first, mate. When I listened to your last episode, we obviously knew that Grant's time was coming to an end, his 2.5-year tenure at the club. It was the right decision all around, and forget what's happened the past few weeks with the deadline day and the Swansea game. At this moment in time, with the new owners, with the Turkish takeover, we've been wanting it for so long. It's finally happened, but a new manager, a new era, and a new start for Hull City, and I think it's for the best, don't you?
Yeah, I think going forward, it definitely is for the best. It was best for the club to finally, as much as I did like Grant McCann at the end, I think it was needed that we needed to cut all the ties with the Allen regime that we possibly could. And obviously, there was a few good results at the end, which did seem to make a very dodgy choice at, on first glance. But this is a move that was being planned back in November. That's when we first heard about it. So it was on the cards for the moment that the takeover happened, regardless of how Grant was doing or not.
Yeah, I think, Joe, when someone put on, I was listening to a supporter saying it's kind of like if you buy a house, you can decide who rents it if you're renting it out. And that's what the Turkish takeover's done, isn't it? And I think as much as Grant McCann, I've been his biggest critic, I said that when I came on the show last time, but as good as he's been these past few games, like Asian said on his statement, what do I do when we lose a game? I'll sack him and everyone will think I'm right. So it was a shame that he'd come after 2 brilliant results. But looking at the bigger picture, like Will just said, we've got to start moving forward, and I think it was the right time to call Grant McCann's end of his Hull City regime.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I think in terms of he wanted to put his stamp on the club straight away, so getting rid of the old manager was the first port of call for him to be able to start moving the new way forward. So hopefully it turns out to be the right decision, and we can start pushing up the league.
I don't think he'll be out of work for too long. I mean, he's been linked with Sunderland, but so is Roy Keane. But I think as bad as his time was in the first year at Hull City, he's kind of done himself justice. He's got a League One champion under his banner. That's on his CV now forever. And I think him and Cliff Bairn, they're very suited to the third tier of English football. And in my opinion, let's bygones be bygones. He's left our club now and we wish him all the best. But I don't think it'll be too long before we see the Bairn and McCann partnership back, and Cliff will be wearing his shorts in winter for another club anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm only joking, but if you call me Nat again, this is the last time you're hosting. So,
for God's sake, Witter.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, he's been linked with the Sunderland job already. So I think, I'm conflicted with that because I'd like to see Grant McCann do well. And I think most clubs in League One, maybe not the Championship, but in League One, with maybe a better scenario off the pitch as well, he could do really well. But if he goes to Sunderland, I don't want them to go up. So I'd be conflicted. But we'll miss the account that on Twitter saying, is Cliff Bairn wearing shorts? But skipping ahead a bit here, I guess the Shota cam that we had in the behind the scenes video is really entertaining, of the new manager with all his gesticulating, that sort of thing. So I don't think we'll miss McCann too much.
No. So let's go on to Shota Arveladze. Obviously, we knew that was probably going to happen. You look at his playing record. I mean, 426 appearances, 258 goals. He's Georgia's probably best ever player. He's managed all around Eastern Europe, Trabzonspor in Turkey, Maccabi, Tel Aviv. Recently, a team in Uzbekistan as well, and now Hull City. Will, we knew it was going to happen. We knew this was going to be our guy, and I think we've just got to give him a bit of time. He's got to adapt. Obviously, he's one game, one win, and we'll speak about the Swansea game soon. But I think whatever happens, he's learning the English game. So is our owners. So is these new signings who are going to come in. It's going to take a bit of time, and I think we do appreciate that this year is probably just about staying up with our people going, because we've won a few games or playoffs, promotion. But this moment in time, when I last came on the podcast, it was, we need these owners, we need these new managers, this takeover. It's finally happened, but we're going to have to bear with them, because as good as the few runs have been, we are going to go through tricky times. And this new manager, he's learning the game, will be learning his formation, his tactics. But I'm really looking forward to the journey and the ride under Shota.
Yeah, you pretty much said it there. We've got to give him time. So, I mean, he's obviously going to want to implement his own style of play on the team, and obviously that will take a few games at least to do. I mean, at the moment, it looks like he might be sticking with, because he's keeping a lot of that backroom staff there. He might be keeping with the formation maybe for a while at least. But you could tell almost instantly as well, that Swansea game, the way that they played was just so much more high tempo, more passing. It just seemed already the impact that he's had. They just look like a more, they look a more motivated team, I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I think they did. I think keeping that backroom staff. I mean, Tony Pennock stayed, Barry Richardson, but he's got. What's his name? Is it Peter van der Veen? Isn't it? Who's been like
the Netherlands under 23 coach, I think he was.
Yeah, and he's been, Ajax, like you said, he's worked with Holland. So, Joel, I think having people of that international caliber in the coaching staff as well, and maybe mixing it up, you're going to have people who have managed in Northern Europe, in England and the UK, and now obviously in Eastern Europe with Shota as well. If we can put all them ideas together, it could be a recipe for success. I really hope so. And I think having that, no disrespect to Cliff and Grant McCann, they've only managed in a certain division, whereas this guy's, we're going to have more expansive ideas, more different
diverse knowledge.
Yeah, diverse. So I'm not going to call you that anymore before you turn the camera off.
That's okay.
A lot of the mentorship he's had has been from like Dutch managers like Van Gaal, and so I can imagine a lot of those sort of, you'll see a lot more total football influences maybe on the team.
Yeah. I really hope so. And I think, like you mentioned, just a higher tempo and the pressing as we move on to the Swansea game. Obviously, a 2-0 victory. Brilliant at the stadium on Saturday. Goals from Tom Eaves and KLP. Assists from Brandon Fleming and George Honeyman. That first half, lads, I mean, Joel, I'll come to you first. I'll be honest, when everyone was bouncing up, singing Bounty for Hull City, I had a few tears in my eye. I was in the West Stand. I was flashing it up in one of the boxes with the time because trust due to work, so I kind of had my smart jumper on. I wasn't in the proper stand, but watching the East Stand and the South Stand and even the West, it was that unity. What the KM and the KCOM, whatever it's been for the past few years, has been lacking. And what a great way to start the Arveladze era with that 2-0 victory. Them first 20 minutes, unbelievable start.
Yeah, it's what we needed. We needed that quick start under him because I think we are quite a demanding fan base. I think you'll agree with us there. So if he's not getting off to a good start, straight away he's under pressure. So, and like you say, in terms of the fans jumping around, seeing the West Stand jump up and down like they were was probably the biggest surprise of the entire day because, they usually just sit there. But yeah, I think in terms of the Swansea game, we were under pressure quite a lot. It's the way we dealt with that shows that we're not going to be that attacking team that crumbles in defence like some people think we might have been, because it happened under Slutsky. When Slutsky came over, we tried to attack and then we just lost our way in the defence. So hopefully Shota can keep that solid defence that we've had all season under McCann and build on the attack that sometimes we've been lacking in some of the games.
Yeah, I think a lot of press as well, and you mentioned there who was under the cosh. You're looking at some of the stats. They had 66% of the possession of the full game. We only had 2 shots on target and scored twice. But what really impressed me was what you mentioned there, Will, and the pressing of Tom Eaves and the likes of that Never Die attitude. I thought in the middle of the park that was outstanding. But one person that we'll speak about is Brandon Fleming. You know, we found out a day later that he was told that he was going to leave the club. He didn't really have a future. But I tell you what, the Hull lad, the fullback, what a performance. He absolutely skimmed Cyrus Christie, who's been about the Championship and the Premier League and League One for years, made him look like he'd never played a game before. How impressed was you with a fullback? Because he's, you know, at the minute, we've been talking about who plays fullback. Do we put KLP and Longman there? But Brandon Fleming's definitely up there after that performance, and you can't really see him losing his place this weekend as well.
So is this me? Yeah. Well, I mean, whenever Fleming's actually played, because he's been injured a lot and he's been unfortunate to be injured this season, especially when Elder's not played very well, he's actually been very impressive. So it's a real shame that, you know, how good he was against Swansea, getting the assist immediately after 5 minutes. It's a shame that he had been injured, and he's, you know, another good young prospect that we've got. You know, it's just more evidence at the academy we've got, which hopefully still gets the investment under Adrian, is, you know, that's been really prosperous for us. So, yeah, Fleming was great. I mean, I might want to drop him because, I mean, we can get on to this next time. I know that's terrible because he played so well, but, like, I guess this is for later with the lineup. How do you incorporate these new signings in? Because, you know... Don't drop him. Well, no, but he's a new signing as well. We've spent money on him. You're not going to not play him. So, you know, maybe you put Lewis Potter back to wing back. But yeah, I'm glad I'm not Shota because he's got a really difficult decision.
Well, I think keeping that formation, we didn't know what he was going to play. There was a lot of jokes saying, what about if he goes back to the 4-3-3? What fans going to think?
Which would have made sense with the Dutch football links.
Yes, exactly.
But we haven't got any fullbacks, really. We've got Fleming.
Yeah, but you look at, you know, Elder, Coyle, when Emmanuel coming back, we are strapped in them fullback roles, even with the fact that we haven't signed any, unlike Ryan Longman, who can play there. But Will, was you glad to see still with a 3 back? I call it 5 back, I always have done, but with the 3 defenders, I think we're making a really good partnership there in McLaughlin, Bernard and Jacob Greaves. Obviously, I think Baxter and Bernard have been linked on Hull Live to say there'd be permanent deals in the summer, and that'd work well because they've both been fantastic for us these past few weeks. But yeah, I'm really liking the formation, and I think it suits playing out wide with the likes of KLP and now Longman signed full time. We can build around them and hopefully get it into the forwards once we speak about who signed later on. But I was really impressed with the way City set up. It was very similar in the formation of Grant McCann's, but very different the way it was more narrow and a bit more tempo, and it really worked.
It was a bit more fluid. Yeah, I would love us to keep with the back 3 because I prefer we just seem so much defensively more defensively solid with the back 3, with the stopper of McLaughlin right in the centre and the more pacier and more technical of Dishon and Greaves making runs forward, and you'd have Smallwood or Doherty running backwards to cover. We have to sign them on permanence. And I know Adjun's actually himself has said he wants to sign them on permanence. Particularly, I think if it was a priority, I'd want Baxter, but we have to try and get them both. Oh,
yeah. And I thought Longman would be the most expensive. And so, you know, if we can get them similar fees for the other 2, that'd be fantastic. Especially at bigger clubs, so you'd think they're less likely to play for their main club, their parent club, whereas Longman, I thought, could have been back up next year. So, yeah, absolutely. I think, and depending on how the other loan players go, we could just sign our loan players on a permanent deal in the summer, and that'll be it. That's all we need. That's all we'd need.
Do you think that Manchester United would let us take Bernard, though, because he's quite highly rated there?
And they're rubbish, so...
He's made a step up from League 2. So who's to say he can't step up to Premier League next season? And they might see that and send him out on loan to somewhere lower Premier League. If we aren't there, we won't be there. But, yeah, the likes of Crystal Palace or Brighton might take him on loan and he'll develop further and he might actually play for Manchester United one day.
I mean,
I think in terms of Bernard, I don't think we'll be able to sign him. Baxter, we will be able to sign, but Bernard, I don't think he will.
I think so.
At the same time, we have had in the past players like Chester and Brady and players like them who've come to the club highly rated by Manchester United and stayed.
Yeah.
Man United
It
were better back
depends, because they'll have a new manager. It depends what they think of him. If it's someone who wants to bring in these young players, or whether there's someone who just wants to play, Varane or whoever, or sign another centre back. It just depends.
I think it's looking more like that. It's going to be that Eric Ten Hag, doesn't it, at the minute, with Ragnick as like the director. So I'm sure we'll see. But I think if you look at Baxter, Chelsea's loan policy has been questioned by a lot of people around the world, and I think he'll have about 5 keepers in front of him, and that's all City's gain, definitely. But I'd really like to see them both, because I think, like you just said there, Witto, if you can keep the loan players and the new guys who we've got on loan as well, it's that just getting that team ethos. And I think what's been the struggle for City so many years is you get rid of about 6 players and sign 6-7 players, and you can't build that same mold. Whereas now, who's going to be the starting team for all City. Apart from a few, if we've got a niggle, it doesn't matter because we can put someone else in. Whereas before, it was you'd play with a totally different side one week and then you'd go the week after and it'd be unrecognisable. And I think that's the best way forward. Everyone playing in the same system from the under 16s to the first team. If we can get this identity in the new era, as it's been called, then it can only go one way, and that's up. And I really hope we get to see them 2 sign permanent deals, because they've been fantastic, and we won't be in the position where we have been over the past few weeks if it wasn't for all them. I think if you're going off your man of the matches, definitely for me, Brandon Fleming. I don't know about you lads. I know he came off, but I thought he played really well. Tom Eves was brilliant in the first half. I know KLP got it on the actual when voted by the members in the box, I think it was, or the sponsors on Twitter, wasn't it, who voted for KLP, but I don't think he was, apart from his goal. I thought he struggled, I'll be honest. I thought he created a bit of space. It was. He struggled with his take-ons, didn't he? I know he got questioned a few times by the defenders. Carl Norton, he had his number a few times, but for me, I think it's got to be Brandon Fleming who picks up my man of the match.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Joe?
I wouldn't go against that. I think in terms of Baxter as well, I think that save alone that he tipped on today, I think
fantastic.
That save alone puts him right up, because that'd make it 2-1, I think. And then Swansea had come at us and they could grab a second. So I think that was a game-changing moment.
2-0 is the most dangerous scoreline in football. And I mean, sorry, I had to say it. I mean, the second half, we were really under the cosh, as you said. And I mean, I do have some criticisms, maybe, like Shota didn't make a sub when it was clear that we were under the cosh. But I'd rather not be too negative, because, everything's good at the moment. We won 2-0. And exactly, if that's how good we'll play after 3 days with him, I just, it'll be great when we get, consistent around the games and he's got more time. He'll have a whole week to get his message across, and the new coach, the new Dutch coach, wasn't even there yet, and the new signings. So I think, if you can iron out that second half performance, then, good things are to come.
Yeah, I think one of the things about it was, one of the reasons we were under the cosh, I think, was fitness, due to the high press that we was doing. And I think the longer that they're training under Shota's regime, they'll build up that fitness to do that high press for a bit more longer time, you'd imagine. So it's one of those where over time, you'd imagine the football should improve even more so.
Fingers crossed. But hopefully, a great result. I mean, it was one of them days, wasn't it, where you're proud to be an Hull City fan. It was great to see the members who we haven't seen for years, and we've stuck by them, and people had their own right, and 2 right people stayed away. But hopefully now, with the incentives that we'll discuss later on, and with this new owner, then we've got to give them a chance. We've got to back the boys, and if we can start filling out that, then let's see where this team goes, because Saturday was hopefully a great day, but only the beginning for Hull City Football Club. So let's move on to deadline day. The big stories was what was happening with Aaron Ramsey going to Rangers, or Dele Alli and Donny van der Beek going to Everton, but we was all interested in what was happening at the MKM. So obviously, Matt Smith, didn't see much of Matt Smith, did we?
Who's that?
Well, he's an MK Dons player, I think. So I believe
that joke every time.
He's been released by Man City now. Has he gone to MK Dons full time?
I thought it was a loan.
I think it's loan with a move to permanent.
That's the new trend now, isn't it?
It is the Italian trend. If you play Football Manager, if you go on every Italian team, they've always got a loan and then back joining permanent. And then one that slipped under the radar, Jevon Milne, young centre back, made a cameo appearance at the beginning of the season. He's gone to Falkirk. on loan in the Scottish Championship, so good luck to him. But we're all about the ins. I think the big one, the one that came a few days before deadline day, was Regan Slater coming from Sheffield United. Regan, obviously a really successful loan spell in League One, and we see a lot of his dad on Twitter. He was baiting a lot of the City fans as well. One of Dan Slater. I'll try and
his
get
dad.
it right.
He's
So,
fantastic.
Aliyah Sayed-Manesh, is that right, Will?
Close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alahar Sayed Manesh.
Manesh. He's on loan from Fenerbahce, obviously an Iranian international, 4 appearances and 1 goal for his country. We have, as Wito's name is, Ryan Longman Assam permanently. A fee of around 700k, as we call it, an absolute.
That was very
steal.
underrated, that celebration there.
It was.
I don't want to, if people are wearing headphones, I don't want to hurt them too much.
But yeah, Ryan Longman on a permanent deal from Brighton, absolutely brilliant. A loan deal from the Premier League, Marcus Frost. He's a really up-and-coming forward. He's played 7 or 8 games in the Premier League, a few cameo appearances. He hasn't played a full game yet, but, he's bagged a few. Finnish international. He's played for his country, 2 goals and 11 appearances. And a really good free-kick taker from Swansea, who we saw take a free-kick at the weekend. A bit of an unknown quantity. I didn't think this was going to happen, but Liam Walsh has signed on for a season loan, and we didn't really expect that. But lads, let's talk about deadline day. I was putting in the chat what's happening. Me and Joel was panicking more than you two. I think you two was trying to calm me and Joel down. But Will, go to you first, buddy. I think deadline days have been brilliant over the past few years, not for City fans, whereas now we had our chance back. And how good was it at 10 o'clock when finally the announcements came that the 4 was coming to Hull?
Well, the last time we thought we won deadline day, Hatton Ben Arthur joined us, which I think says it all, really. It was a fantastic day for City. And obviously, Regan wasn't on the day, but those 5 coming in, I think is a great. They're all good additions. The Liam Walsh does have a bit of the newer Dicker Jackson Evans about it, where he's just played against us and then signs for us.
Yeah, that's a bit suspect, maybe. But
I can only think, because it was one that came out late in the day, I can only imagine that was one that maybe was one of the Lee Darnbridge, Grant McCann ones that they've been looking at, and it's only that it's come. It don't feel like I don't feel like an Arveladze one, but it might have been. He might have just been impressed with what he saw on the Saturday and thought, I'll try and get him in. Sayed Manesh looks. I know you shouldn't base it on YouTube, but based on YouTube, he's messy.
Iranian Mbappe.
exactly,
Yeah. Regan Slater, we know what he's about. I can't believe he cost 50 grand. That's insane.
That's the biggest steal, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Following on from that, Longman, obviously, as Daniel would tell you, is the
World
English
class.
Messi.
Oh, no, Messi is the Argentine.
700k. 700k. What's that about? That feels way too cheap. And it's funny considering we found out that he was going to be going to Swansea a couple of days ago for 500k.
Yeah, that's mad.
But they wanted to pay in instalments, I believe, and they turned it down. So I found that very unusual that they were willing to let him go for that little.
I'm really, really confused by it because, I mean, he's been playing really well. He's a young attacking English player, and if Lewis Potter, if we won't even sell him for 20 million, I know maybe. I don't see this, but you might say Lewis Potter's much better than Longman. But how can he be 700 grand? Because in a year or two, he's going to be at least 5 times that if he continues his trend, if not more. The last 11 games or so, he's got 8 goal involvements, and he's worth 700 grand. And he's like 21. I know that's really baffling. So I'm just worried that there's like Brighton knows something that we don't, that they'd accept that, I don't know what that might be, but
another thing about that was,
I don't know,
it's so getting used to us giving people real short contracts, and then we give Longman essentially a 4.5 year deal.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I can be talking about him on the podcast for
long-term ambition.
4.5 years. Yeah.
And I do like the way that we essentially told Brentford, no, you can fuck off. You're not having KLP, but we'll get Marcus Force from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's at League One for Wimbledon? He was a really good striker, and in Brentford, when he didn't have, obviously, because Ivan Toney was ahead of him for the most part, but when he did make his appearances, he was usually quite good for him. So it'll be nice to see what he's like up front. Because I imagine Eves will probably have to really try hard to keep his place. Because I imagine he's going to try and give
Force is
Force a
very
chance
good.
as soon as possible.
Yeah. International striker, and I mean, I did some maths, and I'll regurgitate it from when I tweeted it.
Tom Eves would also be an international striker if Harry Kane won around. So,
well, maybe he'd be an international striker if he was Finnish as well. But
or from San Marino.
Exactly, yeah. But I worked it out. Forsh has only played 37 or the equivalent of 37 90 minutes in his career, and he scored 30 career goals. That's an alarmingly good rate. I know some of that's been in League One, but half of that's been in the Championship. So it's really strange that they didn't give him a chance in the Premier League. But he is below the pecking order and other behind Ivan Toney and other Premier League strikers who are scoring. So I'm really amazed that we've got him rather than some team like Nottingham Forest or someone going for the playoffs, because I think he'll be really good.
I think the easiest way to describe all these deals is they're all win-wins, because if they're the ones that are loans, they either don't work out, they're only on loan, they can go back.
Exactly.
And if they're successful, I mean, all of them, I think most of them are ones. I think they're all with a loan with a view to buy, aren't they?
I'm not sure, but you'd think so.
I don't think Walsh has actually now said that, but I think the other two are.
But even so,
we supposedly already agreed the deal for Sayed Manesh. I think it's
I think that's done. I think that's just sort of waiting on that. But but you'd like to think that if Forsh did really well and he's happy here, and we've got that team ethos, and we've got new owners, that we could afford him maybe, or but he'll be worth a fair bit. But you'd like to think we could do that anyway.
I think with Walsh coming in, there's an abundance of midfielders now. I mean, you can with Callum Jones coming back, you've got Huddleston still playing on the bench. Liam Walsh might prove to be the best signing out of the lot. You never know. But at this moment in time, I would probably have liked to have seen us go maybe for a defender or a full-back. That's just my personal opinion, lads. I don't know about you. I hope Walsh
I get that as well.
Yeah, I mean, never know. Like I said, he might be a well beater and we might keep him and he might turn out to be a cult hero. But I just think at this moment in time, we mentioned Emmanuel and we don't know if he's going to come back at all, and whatever's happened, wish him all the best. I'm sure we'll know that in the foreseeable future. But Louis Coyle, he's coming back, but he might not be 100%. I just think when we was linked with, what's his name, is it Ashby, for the kid from West Ham, he was linked a few times. Yeah, maybe gone down that route. But like I previously said, we've got to believe, and I think with these signings, Ryan Longman, it's so early doors, but this could be in 3 or 4 years. You could be talking of, I don't say the next Jarrod Bowen, I don't mean that, but if he can produce what he's doing now, and we've got 4 seasons of this, you never know what he's going to do. But really smart business when you think of getting Regan Slater and Ryan Longman for a combined total of 750k. It's not like Hull City to be doing that, is it?
No. It'd be like us to sell them for that much.
Yes,
exactly, or just for free. Yeah, I mean. I guess maybe at the back of your mind, there's, it's a bit of a shame we haven't signed maybe Pesic or Ziyech or, these really big names we were being linked with Tosin. But these are still very astute signings. And I think maybe in the summer when the recruitment team have more time, it's your face is doing all the words. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah, I think it's going to be an even better window, I hope. Yeah.
We'll spend a bit of money, I think.
Yeah. Even if we don't spend it, the rumour mill is just going to go absolutely
it's going to be amazing.
Mental.
Mesut Ozil sign.
Cooper is going to be
a busy boy.
Very busy.
He'll deactivate his Twitter before it comes, I think.
I won't blame him.
We'll just mute it.
Been drinking in Admiral the Humber. How many times will that come on? But right, going on, obviously a brilliant deadline day for the Tigers, lads. But I think if we're looking at these new signings now, we know Longman's been starting for the boys anyhow. Did these players go straight into your starting team before we go on to Preston? How is City going to work this? I mean, I know Will's probably going to have a go at me with his name, as you'll see on YouTube. But I think for me, either Frost or Sayed Manesh, do they come in for Tom Eves? Is he going to mix it about with Longman and KLP? Does Regan Slater come in? But then Smallwood's been great. Doherty's been really good in the middle of the park. I don't know. I think if you're looking in the long run, I think the only man you're going to swap is probably Eves, lads, at this moment in time. I think, especially if we move on to Saturday's game against Preston, I think you'd see the majority of them starting on the bench, but will one of the strikers come in? I don't know. What would you do if you were Shota?
I think it'll be a case of they'll all make appearances off the bench.
Yeah.
I think he'll probably try and keep the
First
same
game,
team. Yeah, he'll keep the same team, I think, and he'll be slowly feeding them into the squad over the next couple of games.
I mean, we've got 7 games this month, so the squad rotation is going to be vital. So it'd be perfect chance to play the same team on Saturday, and then the Tuesday game at Derby, you could start 2 or 3 new players. Yeah,
I
and that'd
can
be
imagine
fine.
like Slater coming in for like Smallwood, because obviously Smallwood's fitness isn't obviously as good as other players.
Yeah,
that's unfair.
You can't run. I'm sorry.
How could Ian Ash be?
No, it's funny though. I mean, we all go on about how Eves is funny, right? Sometimes, or we love saying the Eves. Smallwood's way funnier. The way he runs, it's great. But he's done really well. But yeah, it'll be nice to have I think Walsh and Slater can play in that deeper midfield position. It'll be nice to have players that can actually run in that position. But I love Smallwood though. He's been really good this year.
Smallwood run now because I've never seen. I've never
I
actually.
know what you're on about.
Yeah.
It looks like he's running through Trico.
It really does, yeah. I think I said at the time, before we scored the first goal, when he was on the ball, because we were moving from one side of the pitch to the other, and I thought, oh, here we go. Smallwood's going to slow the play right down. It took ages to cross the pitch, and then of course we scored. So shows me, shows what I know.
That's what you deserve.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it'll be a case of. Sorry, Will, you go, buddy.
I think it'll be a case of him. Syed Manesh coming on for KLP, maybe one game, or Longman.
They seem similar.
Slater and then Force for Eves.
Well, just reading Baz Cooper's thing now, he said he's probably in line to be starting at weekend.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, it says he's really settled.
Good, so.
Yeah, it said he's really settled.
Is that who you mean?
Yeah. You what, sorry, mate?
Is that Force you're talking about? Yeah.
No, Syed Manesh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he is
been training for a couple of days, with the team.
That's
as well.
true. He's been here since last Thursday, I think. So
yeah, there was a photo of him, wasn't he, at the training ground before like 2
and he was at the match as well.
Yeah, he was in the executive box, which was great to see. And I think as good as on the field's been as well, off the field's massive to talk about. I think when we're recording this a few hours ago, the Allams finally cut ties. From the 2nd of February, Ihab and Assam have been released as the directors, and now Tan Kesler, Asian Ilakai and Ebru Atasav Tarenshi, as we will call him, they're the new directors, and also the incentive of the £2 ticket. That's what you've got to do, aren't you, as a new owner, to get these fans in. The Barnsley game, the £2 and £2 if you bring a friend. But for them, today's a really significant day, because even though the takeover was done and the new era started, this is the day where officially on the government website the Allam era has finished from Hull City, and it's been about bloody time, hasn't it, lads? But really good, and beautiful these little incentives. How good can that be to see the old people who are coming back and these lads who have stopped going because of the regime? And that's what we want. We want to start. We're not going to fill out. We're not going to get 24,500 yet. Let's be realistic. But even if we can get 5-6 more thousands in, you don't realise how much that'll probably benefit the team. And I think if we can carry on engaging with the fans off the field as well, that's what you've got to do now, because the fans and the club have never been so far apart. And it's going to take time to heal. These new owners aren't going to heal it straight away. We're still people who aren't going to come yet. But, we'll get there, and doing things like this, I think it can only be for the good. Have you bought £2 tickets yet? Are you sorted out? Are your friends all on the bandwagon?
Yeah, I've got a couple for one of the lads I work with, so make sure we get as many into that stadium as possible, especially against Barnsley. It's an easily winnable game. So
it annoys me that the EFL has rules that you can only do these sort of promotions on 3 of your games in a season. Well, I know why they do it. It's so the EFL get money. But it annoys me. You should be able to do it on all your games. Because I imagine Adjon, the way he says it, he would probably try and do it on every game.
That'll be next season. He'll look at the pricing structure in the summer.
I imagine the season tickets will go down in price quite a bit.
There won't be
season.
There won't be £2 cheap, I don't think. But I think it might be a match day ticket might be £15 for an adult. Pass holders maybe £12.
Even that's dead cheap in modern football. So
because that means the match program is more expensive than the ticket, which is just crazy, isn't it?
And the exotic food that gets put everywhere. You can get 2 tickets for your hot dog and pan, definitely.
I need to try.
I mean, those chips are fucking worth it, to be fair.
I never see them. Everyone puts them on these footy scrams on Twitter. And when
you're right. You
It's
never
a
see
flat
those,
pint
do
of
you?
Guinness and a pack of munchies that have got ripped open before it's even started. So it must be a different stadium because I've never seen that. It's like
Well,
dormant.
was you in the West Ham last game? That's why apparently apparently people in the West Ham don't get them. It's us plebs over in the East Stand and the South Stand who get them.
Yeah, but I've been in South for all
fair
season.
enough.
But it might just be me ordering me normal Carling and packet of Crisco, a bit of a cheapskate.
That's it.
But let's
Widen
go
your
to the
horizons.
all-important game on Saturday. Preston, obviously, we played Preston. First game of the year. We started off brilliantly 4-1, didn't we? I think a bit of team news. Alfie Jones back in for the weekend. Possibilities that Elder and Coyle are. We've still got Malik Wilkes and Randell Williams. You've got the new signings who we've already mentioned. I think if you look at the championship table now, we're sitting quite comfortably. We've got 32 points. You look in the relegation zone, we're 12 points away from Peterborough, and then Derby sitting on 15 and Barnsley on 14. But like you've all been saying, how big is February? Is it 7 games? So every game's not going to be a victory. But I think if we can carry on our home form, Preston are 6 points in front of us, but we've got a game in hand. So I think this weekend, if we can win, the results around us have been really good, and if we can continue this good run, then hopefully we can start sitting pretty uncomfortable for our survival from the last 2 months of the season, because we don't want to be getting into a running like we did 2 years ago, and then we can plan for next year. If we know we're going to be in the championship, we can give our signings, our targets, right? This is what we want to do. We're going to be playing championship football. But for me, I think Saturday's a really winnable game. They're a bit hit and miss, aren't they, at the minute, Preston? But how would you guys line up? What would be your tactics? How would you go against North End at weekend?
Like I said, I do same team personally.
Yes, I think I would personally. I don't think I'd change it straight away. I'd put them all on the bench. I think if I am Shota, I think he might swap. Like I've said, Syed and Manesh might come in. But apart from that, I'd probably keep it the same. I think you've just got to carry on. You don't really want to change your winning team, do you? What we're on now, 3 on the bounce, so long may it continue. Joel, would you change anything?
No, I wouldn't change anything. But one thing I did pick up is you say about the 12 points away from the relegation zone. You were going to mention this, didn't you? We're actually 13 away from the playoffs. So we're actually we're more so mid-table.
We're the most mid-table as possible.
Yeah. So if we can get a few results in February, as Adjan said in his first interview with the club, let's why not dream? Why not focus on trying to push up the league? Maybe take it game by game, but we can get up there. It's just whether the teams around us keep winning as well. Because if they keep winning, then obviously we've not got a chance. But I think Middlesbrough are on 45 points, and so Huddersfield. So we're not that far away at all.
I think it's just a bit too far. If we were 5 points, 6 points, but you'd have to go on a really good run.
Zone. Yeah. We're in that neutral zone where we're not going down and we're not going up, I think.
I think top half finish would be a really good achievement, honestly, considering where we've been.
Yeah,
I think Aston Villa are about 20-25 points away at this stage of the season, and ended up getting to the playoff final. So
I now have to fact check that.
I'm probably wrong. They might have been the year they won.
Don't talk to me for 3 minutes. I'm going on Wikipedia.
We're not waiting here for 3 minutes.
It'll take me a while to look it up.
Put a song in, but no, going on about February, it could really shape our season. I mean, Preston this weekend, then we go to Derby, obviously. What Rooney's doing there, they're doing really well, but they've been very inconsistent. A lot of red cards in their games. Then Fulham, Mitrovic on 28 goals already, so that's going to be probably the biggest test for Shota, I think, this month. Then the Derby, the rearranged game, the Yorkshire Derby against Sheffield United on the 15th. QPR away, Barnsley at home, and then Peterborough, who again are in the relegation zone. So a real mixed bag, Will, of teams that look like they're going to be playing Premier League next year and teams that are going to be playing in League One. And I think that's the beauty of the Championship. When you listen to all the pundits and the commentators, as good as the Prem is, the Championship is just relentless on a Tuesday, on a Saturday, then on a Wednesday, then playing in the Cup. And that's why probably now with these signings, we've got a bit of squad depth, what we haven't got as well. I think it was Joel mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter. You can put Longman on the bench, or you can play Frost now, or Walsh can come in if Honeyman's tired. And I think that's what you've got to have in the Championship. You've got to have a bit of aggression and a bit of bollocks about you, but you've got to have a bit of skill and squad depth as well, because it does get tiring all them 46 games, especially come the back end of the year. But City looking promising now, especially with the injuries coming back. Like I mentioned, Alfie Jones back, but he's going to struggle to get in the side, and that's not a bad thing when you're looking at Jones, Elder, and Coyle, and you probably can't fit him into your starting team. Whereas this time,
it is funny looking back, like when Jones got injured and there was like Well,
We're dead.
McLaughlin's
We're
going to
gone.
have to play. I'm not sure about him, and he's been possibly since he came in our best player.
Maybe. Along with a
I
few
don't think he's
others.
had a bad game. Since he came in, I don't think he's had a bad game once.
Yeah. Joel, Aston Villa were 12th, and they were 7 points off the playoffs. So, but I guess
earlier on the season they were quite away.
Millwall, not the year before that, were around where we were 10 games ago or so, and they finished 7th, and they went on a fantastic run. So it is absolutely possible.
I do remember Reading one year being in the bottom half of the table and winning the league.
Yeah, it's possible. It's really possible.
It will happen,
I just think it's a
it isn't
bit
impossible.
far off. It's a bit far off. Maybe.
You've got to
This team, I know every team says it, but this team says that they like to have their games Saturday, Tuesday, and that's what we've got this month. So it is possible to pick up a lot of points if if we carry that momentum on, and we've still got the new manager bounce as well.
So yeah, I mean, if we're looking at Preston, they look like they probably play 3-4-1-2, but they have got a lot of red cards, and they're very inconsistent. They're going on inconsistent runs at the minute. I do think they're definitely beatable. They had a really good result against West Brom, didn't they, the other week? But then they lost at home at weekend. I mean, so are we all saying the starting team? Is that what you wouldn't change a thing? Not one thing if you was in charge now before we move on to the predictions?
Yeah,
I couldn't.
A couple of them maybe on the bench, but I wouldn't change any of the 11.
I couldn't resist playing Forsh up front. I couldn't, but then, no one deserves to be dropped. But if you want
Eve's agenda is getting out of hand.
No, I dropped Fleming. I know he's man of the match, but I dropped him, put Lewis Potter back to wing back.
What, and put Froth up front with Eves?
Yeah, because you have to, although they're kind of similar players, but really Fleming has to be dropped in a way. Otherwise, either one of Forsh or Syed Manesh, who, these are the marquee signings of the window, at least one of them is not going to play. And if we are already sort of spending a lot of money on Syed Manesh, you're going to want to play him. But maybe do that against Derby and bring him off the bench if we're not winning. So maybe it would probably be wise to stick with the same team.
Yeah. Joel, are you the same team, buddy?
Yeah. Same team. Maybe
it's
a different
quicker
bench.
answer than me.
Yeah. I think it's going to be another fantastic atmosphere, though. I think now with all the new signings, it is his team, isn't it? Not officially his team because he hasn't bought every single player, but he's moulding what he wants now. Again, we don't know if all of them were Shota signings, but I think it's a bit exciting now, isn't it? I'm ready to go on a weekend, whereas the past few years it's kind of been like, oh crap, we've got City at weekend, and I think everyone's been in that same position, haven't they? Whereas now, hopefully, more tickets are going. You look at all the tickets, and there's more red blocks than there is green blocks on the ticket sites, and just really looking forward to it. I think if we can carry on our home form, it's going to be a really entertaining end to the season. There's a lot of football to play, lads. And like I said, our squad depth's not looking bad now. And we're struggling to put all these new signings, these really good players into our team. So, a bit grateful from last time when I was on the podcast, which is really good. Score prediction, I'm going to say 3-1 to the Tigers. 3-1. I think we might score early doors again. I'm just hoping we can have a 90-minute performance because we did struggle the back end, didn't we, the Swansea game. But 3-1 to City. Will?
I'm just it's gonna be a repeat of the earlier game of the season, and Smallwood's gonna smash one in again, and it's gonna be 4-1.
That'd be good.
Hopefully.
It will be very nice.
Joel?
For me, I think it'll be 2-0 to City. I think.
We do like a 2-0.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. But
we do like a 2-0. We seem to win 2-0 almost every time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think Eves will score, and then he'll get taken off for Force, and then Force will score.
That'd be good. When you get two strikers scoring, because last year we did that a bit with McGuinness starting, who'd score, come off, and Eve scored. So it is possible for that to happen. My prediction, I'll go 2-1. I think Preston may be a slightly better team than Swansea at the moment, and defensively we were pretty good against Swansea, but they did have a lot of the second half. So I think we'll score 2 early goals like we did against Swansea, perhaps, or in the first half, and then it'll be a bit of a nervier second half. But I think we can. I think we can do it. Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all in unison. Let's hope it's just 3 points for Shota Arveladze's Hull City. But lads, honestly, it's been great to host this. I mean, and obviously he couldn't make it tonight. He's still going to be on the show, guys, so don't worry. But really enjoyed it, boys. I love doing these podcasts, and I'm glad to be jumping on with you, lads. And hopefully it's the start of something successful, and we'll have a lot of wins to talk about with the Tigers, and we can start this journey off together. But it's been great to speak to you. Obviously, guys, we are sponsored by Hull City Retro and 6 Yards Out. I remember the charity shirts are available from S66 Sportswear in collaboration with Andy Mann's Club. So this has been the Hull and Back podcast with me, Joe, Joel, Will, and I'm not going to call him Nat because he might
Nathaniel is fine. Nathaniel is fine.
Nathaniel Longman, Will Eves, and then just Joe and Joel who don't want to change their names yet. But thanks, lads. Really good to speak to you. I will see you on Saturday up the Turkish Tigers.